Hello, everybody. This is Jeff with Let's Talk About It. I kind of changed things around a little bit in here, and I also am using a wide lens. So it's just kind of interesting how to get all this going. And I'm still not happy with it. You got to figure out the backside. But anyway, I appreciate those of you who are watching this here. I'm hoping to increase my audience with why I do this. And I guess I'll start by saying, why I do this is to really highlight people, average people, that are making a difference in the lives of other people. That was kind of the heart and soul behind why I wanted to do another podcast. I did another podcast with Dr. Dina Dye for 2.5 years. Most of it had to do with looking at the biblical account from a different perspective. And I really enjoyed that. I've also done a radio show on Salem Communications, did it out of Seattle. I've done several internet things, but my heart and soul is podcasting, obviously. And I just believe that people are amazing. So I like to do as much as I can to promote people. That's really the heart and soul of Let's Talk About It. It really means let's talk about you. And so today, we're going to be talking about 2025, but I'm not going to be talking about 2025 based on a political or biblical perspective. I'm going to be talking about 2025 from a little different perspective. I'm going to give you a little background. I mean, I could talk about what's going on, the wars, the conflicts over in Ukraine. The Middle East is a time bomb. I could go into all of those things. And I suppose we could have done that at any point in history because it's just the propensity of mankind to be at war with one another. On the other hand, Dr. Dina Dye quoted Dr. Prager, or I forget his first name, Mr. Prager. He said, the question is not why is there evil in the world, but why is there good in the world? And I thought that was a pretty profound quote, because the good in the world is you and I who are making a difference in the lives of other people. We're not out trying to kill people. We're not out trying to hurt people, abuse people, rape people. We're just trying to promote people that are making a difference in their lives and lifting people up. And I've had some folks do that for me recently. It's been a difficult year for me. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I posted something very personal on Facebook, not something I want to do. I just felt the need to really kind of tell you folks that, yeah, I got stuff too. I got issues. And I made a decision last year or earlier in the year that I've regretted ever since. However, it's done. Now I got to work with it and I got to move on. And there have been some really good people that have stepped into my life to kind of encourage me, get me back on track. And I got to say, too, that I have to give credit to God, my God, the God of Israel, because he had this thing all figured out for me already anyway. And he never lets me down. So, we got a mess going on in the world. This whole thing over in Syria, they're already talking. You got to understand something, folks. The folks who took over Syria are terrorists. The United States of America has literally put this guy, Jelani, in, he's on the most wanted list or whatever. But that's the way it is in the world today. I'm not going to talk about that, okay? I'm going to play a couple of videos today. I'm going to put a bunch of pictures up on the screen. And I just really, for 2025, because we have all been through stuff. We've been through an economic issue. We've been financially, buying things at the grocery store. It's just been difficult. And of course, this is right after COVID. So how do we encourage one another and how do we lift one another up in spite of all those things? Because those things aren't going to change. What changes those things is the way we behave. And so today, this program is about, paying it forward, lifting one another up, making a difference in people's lives. But I'm going to play something to you, and I played the whole video I put the whole thing on my Facebook page. But I'm going to play this video, and I want you to listen to it because there's a lot being said here and you'll understand as we get through the program.
Just habits, hardwired attitudes, beliefs, and perceptions that function like a computer program. So then a person can say with their 5% of their conscious mind, I want to be healthy, I want to be happy, I want to be free. But the body's on a whole different program. People grab their cell phone, they check their WhatsApp, they check their text, they check their emails, they check Facebook, they tweet something, they do Instagram, they check the news, and now they feel really connected to everything that's known in their life. And then they go through a series of routine behaviors. They get out of bed on the same side, they go to the toilet, they get a cup of coffee, they take a shower, they get dressed, they drive to work the same way, they do the same things, they see the same people, they push the same emotional buttons, and that becomes the routine, and it becomes like a program. So now they've lost their free will to a program, and there's no unseen hand doing it to them. So when it comes time to change, the redundancy of that cycle becomes a subconscious program. Most people then wait for crisis or trauma or disease or diagnosis. They wait for loss, some tragedy to make up their mind to change. And my message is, why wait? And you can learn and change in a state of pain and suffering, or you can learn and change in a state of joy and inspiration. And I think right now, the cool thing is that people are waking up. If you're not being defined by a vision of the future, then you're left with the old memories of the past, and you will be predictable in your life. How you think and how you feel creates your state of being.
Okay, so I watched that whole video, and I was inspired to kind of seek that stuff out by a young man. His name is Aiden Myberg. I'm hopefully going to have him on the program next week. He's 18 years old. I'm going to play a clip here in just a minute by him. I'm 65 years old, worked my butt off. But I realized recently I had to make a mental shift in the way I was processing things and doing things. I'm always one to help people. That's always been part of that's why I do this. But I had to make a mental shift. My good friend James Porter, he came up here. He's widowed. He's got 2 little girls. He came up and spent a day with us. And he said to me, Jeff, you got to change the way you're thinking. And so when I played that video and watched that video, it was something that I was able to connect to something that I'm doing with the frequency healing. And in that frequency healing, when I scanned myself, a few things consistently came up that I'm stuck in. Consistently. I've been doing this for a year now. They have consistently showed up. There's such a thing. I'm going to bring this picture up here in just a moment. There's a thing called inner voice when you do the scan, and it's literally, it's actually getting a reading on the frequencies of your emotional state of being. And of course, I bought into the system. I absolutely understand what it's doing. I've learned now over a year why this thing makes sense. And of course, Einstein and Tesla said, one day frequency healing is going to be the way of the future. So as I was doing all of this, 3 core things kept coming up in my emotional scan. And then I watched a couple of other videos that talked about how most of the things that are causing problems in our bodies start in our emotions. So I'm believing these things. I have been for probably 7 years, ever since I started using this product right here, which is called Life Vantage. Let me get to it. Hang on. Life Vantage. This was something that was introduced to me, shortly after the cancer and all that stuff. But it was all about, if you can hear my dog barking, I don't know what he's barking at, but it was all about healing your body through activation and nutraceuticals. And of course, having had cancer and all that kind of stuff, a brain aneurysm, I wanted to find something else to manage my body. So I started looking at all this alternative stuff. And with this here, I started connecting my emotional being to some of the stress and sicknesses that were happening in my world. Stress and emotion create all these different cycles. So anyway, these were the issues that I was dealing with and contending with as I get older. Hang on just a second. I'm being distracted here. So anyway, the reason I wanted to talk about 2025 was because how we go into this new year is going to determine how that year works for us. I'm going to play another video here, and I want you to listen to what this young man says, okay?
I was a broke dude living with $0. With $0 to my name. And I changed that recently. I had a timeline. Everyone has a timeline. And I spent my time wasted. And this year of 2024, I changed it. And now I'm making $2K a month. I'm where a lot of you want to be, coaching people and being able to day trade, being able to have free time, being able to have a dream job instead of stuck in a job serving food. I was actually working at Chipotle. I hated my life. And so I want to be able to help you be in a place where you can truly enjoy where you're at. And you stop being depressed. You stop feeling like you're trapped in a box. That it feels like the sky isn't your limit. People say the sky's your limit, but you feel like the box of whatever it is inside your mind, you just can't get out. And so
I have some other clips up here where I had them kind of polished. When we started the show, they were gone, so I had to reload the full thing. I'm going to have that young man on next week if everything works out. Now, I'm just going to sit here and ramble about how is your 2025 going to be. I had to really do some I had to look at my inner person and see why I was in such a bad place mentally in my personal world that it was just starting to tear me. It was working me down. It was weighing me down. And then I had Alan Collins from Financial Street Smarts. I meet him, and he really inspired me. This guy is a brilliant money person. I had him on the show last week, and he started talking to me about, Jeff, you got to change the way you think about your finances. It's not that we're indigent or destitute. I just have done things a certain way for so many years that at 65, I'm going, well, this isn't working. And Alan said, yeah, that's not going to work. James said, that's not going to work. You got to change your thinking. So I started listening to what they had to say. And I started appreciating the information they were telling me. And then I had to make a decision. Am I going to do something about it? Well, I did make a decision to do something about it. And the blue funk that I was in personally over my financial situation, that's all gone now. I mean, my financial situation it's not rosy. Nobody dropped a bunch of money in my lap, but I did make a change in the way we were investing. And I was able to breathe a little bit, and now I'm going to invest in a different way. So I had to make those changes. Now I started making changes in the way I saw everything many, many years ago. But life catches up to you when you start seeing all these kind of repeated patterns. And I'm like, why am I in this place all the time? I need to figure something out. And folks, to be honest with you, I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what to do. I'm a pretty stable guy. I've got pretty good employment. I've done a good job with working. But why am I constantly in this situation in my personal life, I don't like it. So because of the God of Israel, because I pray, all of a sudden James shows up and says, Jeff, you got to change something up here. And then Alan, who I've only known for a short period of time, he says, Jeff, you got to change something up here. And then one of the guys that I network with, his name is Chris, he says, Jeff, let me introduce you to this 18-year-old kid who says, you got to change something up here. I mean, what do I got to change? And it was my thinking. It was the way I was thinking. I had another person explain to me, if you take an album, like an old album from the young people aren't going to know what I'm talking about, but a record, and you put the needle on top of the record, now it's down in the grooves and it's producing what you're hearing. And that person said, that's kind of how your subconscious works. Right now, your whole life is an album. The minute you put that needle on there, you dip into your subconscious, and that's where the real world, the real you is. And now you start producing that person. So the idea was to change my subconscious thinking so that I wasn't manifesting the same thing over and over and over again. Well, this is a journey for me. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. I'm always talking to the Christian mind. Please go back and look at something a little different. I do not, and this is very important to me, I do not follow a religious understanding of the Bible. Why is this falling off my head? I don't. So I'm going to put this up here, and I'm just going to show you. About 3 years ago, I decided, the Bible's kind of like becoming a citizen. It's kind of like I got to learn the language, I got to learn the culture, maybe the history. Okay? So I started looking at it that way. I didn't want to be Jewish. I didn't want to be Pentecostal or evangelical. I just wanted to understand what the Bible is talking about. And the Bible's talking about, here's my kingdom and here's yours. Which one do you want to live in? So the more that I researched and became biblically astute from a different perspective, the more I wanted to be a citizen of the kingdom of God, as opposed to a religious person trying to understand how to do life better. So now I'm Jeff S. Morton, citizen of the kingdom, doing a podcast, holding down a job, and thinking there's a few things in the way that I think that have to change. And so that's what I'm working on. And that's what I'm going to be doing in 2025. And I'm going to tell you something. Probably the most valuable thing that I can bring to the table in 2025 is working in the lives of people to make a difference in their world. I think being in service to others is the key to all of this. I mean, I really, really do. I remember I was sitting in a drive-through buying something that's going to kill you. And I rolled up to the window because it was my turn to pay. And the person said, oh, the person that just left paid for your meal. And I never forgot that. I was in a Roto-Rooter plumbing truck when that happened many years ago. I didn't know the term pay it forward. I didn't know what any of that stuff was talking about. I just knew that somebody paid for my meal and I was grateful. But nobody had really ever done that for me. So I started, well, pay it forward. That's a thing. I guess that's a thing. So I started doing the same thing. I remember one particular lady. She was really elderly. She's like 80-something years old. And I was having lunch at a Mexican restaurant, and she was sitting by her table all by herself. And I kept looking at her thinking, man, she was pretty. Back in the day, that was a beautiful lady. And so when it came time for us to leave, I went up and I paid for her meal. Well, I was trying to get out of there before she came up to the counter to do the same thing. Well, I didn't make it. She came up to the counter and the lady said, well, he just paid for your meal. And she started crying. This lady literally teared up and started crying. And I said, why are you crying? She said, well, Nobody's ever done that for me before. And she said, I'm alone and I come down here just to be a part of the world and have my little lunch. And I didn't have a lot of money. It turns out she was a decorated naval officer, a WAC back in the World War II days. And she showed me all these pictures and I'm like, wow. I mean, it was like I was honored to be talking to her. But she's telling me she's sitting alone in her apartment. She doesn't have any family. And so I bought her a meal and it just really touched her. And those are the kinds of things that, I mean, they make life happen for me. Sometimes my wife, we'd be out to dinner and I'd pay for another couple's lunch or dinner or whatever. And she'd go, why are you doing that? I said, well, because it just, I've been listening to the conversation and pay it forward. Okay. So I'm thinking 2025 is going to be a different year. I think that the world is in chaos. I really do. I really do. But it doesn't mean that I have to be in chaos. It doesn't mean that you have to be in chaos. I started looking at the pharmaceutical industry a long time ago, and I'm going, wow, these medicines, some of them are very good for you, but most of them are managing your illness, not getting rid of them. So I started doing Life Vantage stuff, and I learned about nutraceuticals. I'm a cancer survivor, stage 4. So I wanted to find alternative things that would help me out. I'll never forget, I couldn't use this finger, couldn't write with anything. And this girl from India, this woman from India, she said, oh, all you have to do is just drink this particular concoction of apples and carrots, juice it. So I did that. She said, drink 16 ounces a day for a few days. And I did. Pain went away, totally went away. I remember when I went and got the staples. I had staples from the side of my face. I should have put the picture there, but it freaked out. All the way down. And I was doing this kind of juicing. So when I went back to get these staples out, there was over 70 something. The doctor goes, well, your skin's already grown over this. I'm going to have to numb you up to take these out. And I began to pay attention to how the immune system works. So I started working on all those things. I started learning about the CBD oils. I started learning about essential oils. I started learning about alternative medicines, medicinal things that you could use, different modalities. I started learning all of this, right in line with looking at the biblical story from a completely different lens. I started learning all of that. So about 2 months ago, I had some people walk into my life and said, well, you got to learn something else about how to finance your life. And I went, duh. Really? Never thought about that. I never bothered to find out what an IRA was. I never bothered to find out what a money market account was. I have a 401k, chunk of change in it. As long as it's collecting, I don't have to worry about it, but I didn't know anything about it. Alan Collins walks into my life and says, dude, you have to know about stuff like that. And I begin to think, I'm always asking the Christian to take a look at the biblical story. And now I got the God that I serve telling me to take a look at a different way to finance your life. So I thought 2025 is going to be a different year for me. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with the Donald Trump presidency, all these different things that are shaping up. I have no idea. But 2 things I do know. I'm going to keep doing this podcast. I'm going to promote individuals who are making a difference in people's lives. I'm already on the recovery road to learning how to make mine and my wife's money work for us instead of us working for it. I'm shifting gears, so to speak, and I'm not doing it because I'm afraid of what's going to happen or because of all the prophetic stuff that I see happening. I'm going to do it because while I have a life to live, I'm going to serve others and make a difference in the lives of other people. And I have to start with me by thinking differently. So let me show you guys a few things. And I love this young man, Aiden. I hope he could be on the show next week. It's not written in stone yet. But I mean, here's this 18-year-old kid. And if you watch his videos, he's got a YouTube channel. If you watch his videos, he makes more sense than, I mean, I'm just sitting here dumbfounded listening to him. But he decided, you know what? I don't want to be an 18-year-old kid wasting a lot of time. I want to go learn how to make my own business and create a life for myself. And he took all these steps. And when you listen to his videos, he lets you know what those steps were. What he did was he changed his mindset. And he changed, he was looking for a different outcome. So he started putting in a different input. And I've listened to 3 of his YouTube videos, and I'm like, I mean, when I started out young, I thought, I'm all out here on the West Coast. I'm living my life out here by myself with no family, no father ever. My mom's back east. What am I doing out here? And so I'm learning School of Hard Knocks. Nobody showed me most of anything. I had a few people. This person named Leonard Pearson was instrumental in my life. He introduced me to the Bible. And there's been a few other folks along the line. But Alan walks into my life and he said, at the time when I needed somebody to help me sort this out, he steps up to the plate and offers me some wisdom that I just never knew about, never pursued. And I went, okay, Jeff, you need to learn. And the God that I serve is putting the right people in your life, from Alan, who's roughly my age, to an 18-year-old kid. And I thought, you know what? Next year, 2025, I'm going to focus on people. And I'm going to focus on learning how to do better with my money. And I'm going to learn differently how to take care of my health. Let me show you guys some things, okay? I'm going to start here. I started taking Life Vantage products. These are nutraceuticals. They're synergized, basically herbs. It's an herbal concoction to start your mitochondria, your cell, to get your cells to restart, basically jumpstart your cells in your body. I've been doing this for 7 years, okay? Just to order some more product. So I'm working on that. But then this comes along. It says, I start learning from the Solex stuff. By the way, if you want to be scanned and you want to understand what the frequency scanning is all about, my price is going to go up. It's going to be $100 to do this. But if you're interested in seeing how that works come January, I'm going to charge people to do this because I understand what this is doing. And also, I understand what it can do. I can't claim it's going to heal you of anything. But when you start looking at different technologies, then going to the doctors, getting a pill, taking a pill so that your sickness can be under control instead of gone, it's called changing your mind, switching gears. So I started learning that a lot of our stress and our emotional makeup causes a whole lot of our illnesses, throws the body into chaos, physically and through frequencies, your body's energy. So I started learning about this stuff. I just, the inner voice stuff is what I would love to do with you on the scanning stuff. But I started this here. I just ordered this, okay? I need to get my blood sugar under control. This product right here was designed to do that. Now apparently there's all kinds of GLP molecules or whatever they are in your system. But the GLP-1 is to control your blood sugar. One of the side effects of this is you lose weight. So my wife kind of bought into this. And so I went ahead and bought some. I'm going to try this. I'm always, always, always looking for alternative products to help the body. This here, we don't have it yet. There's a back order on this. It's not an injection. There's all that Ozempic stuff. I wouldn't put that stuff in my body if you paid me. But I started learning, a different way to see the Bible. I started learning a different way to take care of my body, this body that God has given to us. And I started learning, now I'm learning how to take care of my finances. I'm actually learning about money. I had no idea, folks, that I could draw my Social Security and get a monthly check. I had no idea I could do that. I could do that. I had no idea that my current 401k wasn't transferable. I take that back. It's not that it's not transferable. I can't reinvest that money in anything else unless I draw it out. I don't have any options. So I'm learning about 401ks, and there's a 40 something else that my wife has as well. I didn't know any of this stuff. So now, between the biblical stuff, the body stuff, and the financial stuff, I would encourage you that if your life is in chaos and if you're in a mess, it's one thing to say, Jesus, help me. It's one thing to get on your knees and pray. But if you don't learn a different way to do things, I'm just learning for myself, folks. I'm being honest. I'm being totally honest. I'm learning that I realized I had to learn something that was beyond what I was trying to do with the podcast and talking to Christians about, listen, let's go back and look at what those authors are really talking about. I had to learn something. Now, I might be just rambling on here and going on, but I'm trying to tell you guys something. When it comes to your body, there's alternative stuff out here. There's so much alternative stuff out here. I started doing this product right here. As soon as it shows up, I'm going to be taking that. I just ordered some of these. These are called super patches. A good friend of mine, Adrienne Bell, she's on Facebook. She's a friend of mine. Her and her husband and I, we've been friends for a long time. They live in not Montana. What's the next state over? Not Montana. Idaho. And she's doing this. Now they moved from the high desert up to where it's nothing but snow and cold and all that stuff. Anyway, she needed to work on some things in her body, and she started using this super patch. Well, I'm going to try it. I'm going to check it out. I got a couple of them. I want my wife to check it out. I want a friend of mine to check it out because she's not sleeping very good. And then ultimately, I have this here, which I have. Let me just turn this over. I didn't take them out, I don't think. Okay, so this here, do I got that upside down? Yeah, I do. These are called lightweight patches. And a very good friend of mine, a new friend of mine, she's coming to dinner on the 18th with her beau. And we're going to have a little dinner party here in the house. So she's going to talk about these. These really, they amplify your natural light, which creates healing. The other one, this one, let me back up here. This product has to do with your skin. It actually, these patches work through your skin, which is the largest organ in your body. So I'm curious about these ones. Folks, I don't have money to buy all this stuff on a monthly basis. I just don't. Nor am I interested in doing this multi-level stuff. I truly, hey, Alan, I see you just popped in. I truly believe that God has some things that were original before we messed it all up. We, like the saying goes, folks, we can destroy a ham sandwich, okay? I don't eat pork, but I'll just throw that out there. We tend to mess everything up that's in the natural order. Mankind thinks that at some point I'm going to create a way to walk up on a building with a bowling ball, throw it off, and make that ball go up. Okay? Well, the natural order of things is that ball is going to hit the dirt. It's going to drop. Okay? You can't turn water and make it dry. The natural order of water is wet. You can't turn the sky into dirt. Some things are literally put in place so that you and I can live. I'm 1,000% convinced of that, okay? We have a tendency to destroy the natural order of things. We introduce chaos, whether we do it in our personal lives, whether we do it on a global scale, whether we do it to our neighbor. We tend to create a mess when we're not serving one another, okay? I wrote an article a number of years ago about women. So many women get involved with men who take from them instead of who pour into them. And it's just a propensity of mankind to do the worst thing while doing the most spectacular thing. It's like one step forward, two steps backwards. Well, God has a system in place, and he uses light, and he uses energy, and he uses frequency, and he does all of these things to take care of us. He makes food come out of the ground, water fall out of the sky, babies to be born. I mean, everything has a natural order. And Alan was saying to me, so does your money. And in fact, the next seminar that he's doing, which I'm going to be attending, and you can go to financialstreetsmarts.com, financialstreetsmarts.com, and you can learn about his seminars. I'm going to promote his seminars, folks. You people are going to get sick of me talking about Alan Collins and his seminars. But I'm telling you something. He's not standing in front of you in a suit. He's not saying to you, I have the power. He's giving you some street smart wisdom on how to bring your money back under your control. And folks, I needed that. I was making money to pay for stuff. Now I'm learning how to make money to make it work for me. And I've done it before. I just did it by the seat of my pants. I real estate, all that kind of stuff. No. There's a different way to do money. There's a different way to do your health, and there's a different way to understand the biblical story. Those are my key functions in life, okay? Literally, those are my key functions in life. Let's see, hard to serve will come back. Yeah, I tell people all the time. Alan writes, Jeff, your hard to serve will come back to you. I tell people this all the time. If you want more, you must give more. I totally believe that. I totally believe that if you're lifting up your neighbor, you're lifting up your children, you're lifting up your grandkids, you're lifting up your spouse, then everything's going to benefit that person that you're lifting up. If you're tearing down your children, if you're tearing down your spouse, if you're tearing down your neighbor, then a negative response that's the only thing that can happen. So let's talk about 2025. Anyway, these are the light patches. These are really cool, guys. You take this patch, you tear the paper off, and you stick it on your body. There's various parts, places that they recommend. I've done it. I actually have a friend of mine who's sleeping better as a result of doing it. I just believe there's alternative stuff. Let me change that. I believe there's original stuff, and we need to get back to it, okay? Literally. It's kind of like this whole presidency that Donald Trump's talking about. We need to get back to what this country stood for. I think that's what he's trying to do. I kind of understand that. The entire Bible is telling us to get back to what God's doing. We kind of messed things up, folks. You know, the last part of the show, I'm going to have my very good friend who kind of manages the stuff that I don't do on the show. He's going to come on and talk about carnivore, the carnivore diet. Folks, I've watched so many videos on carnivore that literally tear down the way they told us we had to eat. Because I know people that have changed their entire health, improved everything, and Carol's one of them. He's going to talk about that towards the end of the show. What I'm saying about 2025 is this. It's up to you, and it's up to me to determine how we're going to live. If you need to change a few things in your life, it doesn't matter if you're 65 or 85 or 18. Don't be afraid to do that. I literally saw that I kept being in the same. You know what? James even told me this. My good friend James, he said, Jeff, you told me this a long time ago. Now, this is a man who is going to be 50 years old. 8 years ago, he married a wife for the first time. They subsequently had 2 young girls. They took precautions to not have any kids. They ended up with 2 little girls. Well, Kim, his wife, died of breast cancer. And James had to fix he had to rewire everything. What I've seen him go through is very difficult. But He didn't lay down and die. He didn't give the girls away. He said, I have to figure out a way to do this. And so now he has a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. And they call me Uncle Jeff. And he's a widow. And he comes and stands in this room that I'm in. And he says, Jeff, you got to change the way you think. He's been telling me that for a few years. And I've watched him struggle with the loss of his wife and having to learn how to raise 2 little girls by himself. And, we miss Kim. I miss Kim a lot. But she got breast cancer and died. And they did everything you could think of. Holistically, nutraceutically, but it was beyond the pale. It was going to happen. Breast cancer is difficult. Pancreatic cancer is difficult. But I'd rather spend, $400 learning about the light patches, the super patches, the nutraceuticals, than to be sitting up in a hospital bed for 6 months, paying $10,000 a night. Do what I can now. Learn about it's not too late for me to learn how to do money. I make decent living. It's not too late for me to make it work for me. So 2025 is not about prophecy. It's not about the wars. It's not about the chaos. It's about what can you do in your life to change bad habits in order to make a difference in somebody else's life. If we're thinking that way, folks, I want you to be encouraged. I want you to be not afraid. I have a whole blog that's free from fear. Everything that I do is not to be afraid. My problem is I didn't know what to do. I wasn't afraid of my situation. I just didn't like it. So I had to figure out something else. And I really didn't know what that something else was. So Lord, help me out. He sends me people. He sends me people that are doing something and the ability to help me in mine. And I just think that's the way it should be. So I'm going to continue to do the blog. I'm going to continue to do the podcast. You've been seeing it going across the screen. Consider supporting my podcast. I financially, I paid for all this out of my pocket, but you can ease the pain. Help me out. And also, please go to my Rumble page. I think, Carol, you can put that up there. I think my Rumble page is in the scrolls. If it is, go ahead and take this one down and put the Rumble page, because I really want to build Rumble up. YouTube polices me. They shadow ban me. I can't do anything. There were times when I would have post videos on Facebook. I have 10,000 people watch them, okay? I'm not trying to be all that in a bag of chips. I just want people, let me take this down. I just want to be a platform for people, for the average person to share what they do. That makes a difference in somebody's life. So help me out. My Rumble page is right there. Subscribe to my Rumble page. That's the one I really want to grow. I'm going to have a lot of topics on there. Obviously, I'm going to have a lot of people on there. I'm never going to stop talking about the Bible and how to go back and look at what the writers were talking about, as opposed to what the churches today are talking about. I'm never going to stop serving people. If you need a plumbing thing done, you can contact my company. If it's a little thing and you're a friend of mine, let me know. Maybe I can help you out, save you a little bit of money. Either way, I'm never going to stop being a servant in the kingdom of God. And so that's kind of my heart's cry. Now, I'm going to have different people on here. I'm not going to have a bunch of church people on here and religious people. I don't do religion, folks. I do historical research on the world the Bible was written in. That's what I do, okay? Do I believe in the God of the Bible? Absolutely. Do I believe in the events that happen that most Christians call the cross? Without a doubt, okay? I know it from a different lens these days, just period. I just do. So I love doing this. I love people. And folks, I had to face a few things about me. You know how you get to a place where you just hang in your head and you're like, oh God, I can't believe. And you just feel beat down and somewhat defeated. Well, I was getting there. And folks, it took one person to walk into my life and say, Jeff, you got to change the way you think. And that happened. And I'm grateful. I've never been more encouraged. I haven't been this encouraged for a while, I have to be honest with you. I love doing the show, but it cost me money. I'm underwater financially. How can I keep paying for all of this? Well, this is my passion, so I found a way to do it. I might not have paid the light bill on time, but I made a way to do it because this is my passion. Get you involved in being the best person you can be in order to be the best person in somebody else's life that needs help. That's what it's all about, folks. So let's talk about it. Now, in the last few minutes of the program, Carol's going to pop on screen. Now, Carol, I've known Carol since 2009, somewhere in there. He's 83 years old. He's just been a gem of a human being in my life. I asked him, I said, Carol, what are you doing? I said, I could use somebody to help me engineer the program. And then now Carol's had some medical issues. I'll let him share that if he decides to do that. But he did something and it's transformed his life. And I'm going to let Carol, thanks for popping in. I'm going to let you go ahead and tell the folks what it was that you did.
Well, I wanted to improve my overall health. And I heard about carnivore, which initially I thought, just another fad diet going to come and go. But the more I looked into it, the more I realized it is for real. So I decided, all right, tomorrow I'm on this. I say tomorrow because I needed to get the right foods to eat, which I didn't have at the time. Carnivore diet, it is a meat-only way of eating. Meat, butter, eggs, water, salt, and you need to eat plenty of fatty meat. Now, I know we've heard for years that red meat will give you a heart attack. Fat will raise your cholesterol. Well, the problem is, it may raise your cholesterol, but cholesterol is not a culprit, if you will. We've been sold a bill of goods. So, as you've been saying, Jeff, that it's the pharmaceuticals that want to keep us controlled and not healed. Follow the money. Anyway, I started eating carnivore way, and I have lost 100 pounds from my highest weight. I'm down to about 182 right now, and I was up nearly 300 pounds not too long ago. Also had a case of hypertension, high blood pressure. Since I've been eating carnivore, my blood pressure is normalized. So I don't need to take lisinopril. That has been the most, the weight loss and the blood pressure are the two significant things in my life that the carnivore has helped. Besides giving me an overall sense of well-being. Also, many who decide and choose to eat this way, they within even a couple of days of being on it, they no longer snore. Their sleep apnea leaves. In a short time, their mental health improves. They no longer have brain fog. Depression leaves. And it's all of these things are related to our diet. And what is the typical standard American diet? It's SAD, S-A-D, standard American diet. That is why we have so many health issues is because we eat in junk for most of our lives. So don't think of the carnivore diet as a diet per se. It's a way of eating, but we are eliminating all of the processed foods and all of the junk that gives us all of these ailments. So carnivore eating has reversed type 2 diabetes. There's cases of multiple sclerosis having been reversed and people restored back to health. There are so many physical conditions that are helped through the carnivore way of eating. Now, I know that there's some negativity from people that think that, well, I've got to give up things that I love. Well, what is your health worth? Also, you want to give up pain, arthritis, so many things, or do you want to go on and satisfy your taste buds? The thing of it is, you take 30 days. Just determine that you are for 30 days. You are going to try this way of eating and see if your life does not improve. It will improve. Yes.
What do you eat from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed? What is your daily intake of food? What are you eating?
Typically, when I get up, I'll eat about 4 ounces or 1 stick of butter. And that's my breakfast.
Every time you tell me that, I cringe.
It is delicious. Matter of fact, you eat it cold, and when it's still hard, it tastes like you're eating a chunk of cheese. And that's the kind of texture it has. Then I don't eat until about 12, 1 o'clock. I might have 8, 10 ounces of steak or hamburger or a couple of eggs. And usually that's all I eat for the day. And what is so nice about eating meat only, you are satiated very quickly. You eat as much as you want, as much as you can, actually, until you are comfortably full. And you stay satiated for hours, and you no longer get hunger. And then you eat again when you do feel hunger coming on.
And you don't have cravings or any of that stuff. That's all gone.
Well, no, yeah, you're right. I don't have any cravings, but usually that'll take a couple of weeks everybody's different. So, but most people get rid of their cravings within a short time, 2 to 3 weeks. And if you stick with this plan of eating meat, butter, and eggs, water, and salt.
Good salt.
Good salt, yeah. So, yeah. You interrupted me and lost my train of thought, which is easy for me.
We were talking about Jordan Peterson earlier too. He's been eating carnivore. Jordan Peterson, folks, if you didn't know, I think he's amazing. But he's been eating carnivore for 10, 12, 15 years.
More like, I think, about 8 years.
Okay.
Joe Rogan had him on his podcast a while back, and Joe Rogan started eating carnivore, and so he'd been going back and forth. But what I was wanting to say is, if you stick with carnivore and don't deviate off of it, you'll be satisfied hunger wise. You'll find your energy will increase, your strength will increase, and there's just I really can't stress enough how much good you will have from that. But if you cheat or start going back to the sad way of eating, you'll lose it all. You'll start getting your ailments back and whatnot. So anyway, 2025 is coming up in a couple of weeks. That's a good time to start redoing or thinking your lifestyle. And do you want health and wellness, or do you want to satisfy your taste buds? Get off of sugar. Get off of the processed foods. Don't eat these box cereals, things like that. Meat, butter, bacon, eggs. I don't do pork, so I don't eat bacon, but a lot of people, BBBE, beef, bacon, butter, eggs. Keep that in mind. And people say, well, I've got to have my veggies, or I've got to have this or that. No, you don't. You just need to stick it out for 30 days, and you'll find out that those cravings will leave, and you'll be totally content without all the other things. So I don't know if you have any questions, Jeff. I really wasn't.
I wanted the folks to hear you've been doing this now you're working on your second year, is that right?
I'm about 660, or not quite 2 years. I'll give you, today I'm day 576. I've been eating this way. Now, well, folks, I will admit.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jeff. I was going to say I do cheat once in a while. Milkshakes are one of my weaknesses, so I will occasionally have a milkshake, but I don't let that throw me off my diet.
I understand.
But if you cheat, get back on it and don't let it be an excuse to stay off of it.
So we got just about a minute left in the show. Carol, thank you so much for coming in and sharing that, because this is something you and I have been talking about. We've done it. The one show that was thrown off of YouTube was the one on carnivore.
Really?
that we did with Jim. Anyway, we just got a couple of seconds left, folks. 2025. If you got some stinking thinking going on, you got to get rid of stinking thinking, okay? The first video I played shows the guy, and you can go to my Facebook page and see the whole thing. But he says, we are in control of how we think. Alan says, we are in control of our money. God says, I am in control of everything. Get back to me, and we'll figure all this stuff out. Do not be afraid of 2025. Make a difference in your life so that you can make a difference in somebody else's life. If everything goes well, I'm going to have Aiden Myberg on the broadcast next week. He's 18 years old, maybe 19 by now. You got to listen to this kid. He's 100% a Christian person. His entire system, he woke up one day and said, what does God think? And it transformed his life. So I'm hoping to have him on next week. The video clip that I played is of this young man. And I'm going to keep doing this, folks. If you can support this podcast and help me grow it, that would be great. First thing you can do is go to my Rumble page and subscribe. I'm not promoting the YouTube page because I get tired of being shadow banned on YouTube. That's all I have for Let's Talk About It 2025. Make a difference. It's your year. If you wake up and you have an opportunity to live through 2025, do what you can to make a difference in the lives of other people as you literally continue to grow in your own. This is Jeff Morton. Let's talk about it. Have a great week. Bye-bye.